all Mommy's family. Great supportive community, close-knit caring family. We're non-judgy, blanket fuzzy, stigma-free. All Mommy's family, friends, family, and community. We all Mommy's family. Teacher sharing is our key. Great big thanks to you all.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stigma Stompers, Nami County PA's one and only podcast. I am one of your hosts, Abby.
And I'm your other host, Janana.
Today, we are joined by Mary Machuga from White Pine. We're going to be talking about eating disorders today, body image, all of those things. So I'm just going to let Mary introduce yourself, and can you tell us also about White Pine and the mission and how you got to where you are?
Long story. So I'm Mary Machuga, and I'm Executive Director of White Pine Center for Healing. We became a nonprofit, a 501c3, in August of 2019. We did this when we realized from having conversations with community members that there really was not any kind of a discussion, any kind of a conversation about eating disorders and body image and weight stigma. But when you talk to people, almost everybody had a story. Mm-hmm. You know, a personal story, someone that they know, a family member. Everybody had a story. And there are no supports in the Northwest Pennsylvania, really the tri-state area for any of this. As far as the body image piece, there really are very few supports anywhere. So we finally said, well, we can just at least begin. Mm-hmm. So we started off, and we had a little office at the Erie Family Center on 6th and Raspberry, and we had a small open house just to introduce ourselves in February of 2020, right before everything shut down for COVID. Mm-hmm. But that really wasn't a loss for us. We had already been running a support group for adult women, and we ran that in person out of Elmwood Presbyterian Church. And so we continued to run that during COVID. There were a lot of issues with that, even though this was a group of people that had really bonded. No one was really comfortable doing this virtually at that point. Mm-hmm. Nobody was used to doing much virtually, you know, at the beginning of COVID. Plus the fact going somewhere and being in a safe space with others is a totally different experience than being at home and maybe having to find a safe room or lock yourself in a closet for an hour and you know, be able to really voice, you know, your concerns. Mm-hmm. So we finally disbanded that for a while. But I was introduced to our clinical director and advisor, Brandy Montgomery, at that time. So then we built the clinical program in White Pine, and she was already seeing some clients. So we started off there, and we ended up having 3 full-time and a couple of part-time therapists doing outpatient clinical therapy with people with eating disorders. And we had a wait list of about 80 people at least that we could not get rid of.
Wow.
You know, we would be able to place one and 2 more would pop up. Mm-hmm. So we finally decided, as far as the clinical piece, that we needed to really look at how we can serve more people and how we can be of more help. So we decided that we could really, really help a lot more people by being a referral source, because, you know, there really was nowhere else that we could go. If we were to grow clinically anymore, we would have to add a lot of organizational jobs and things like that, and that wasn't supportable. Mm-hmm. And also, we draw from such a large area, you know, all of Western Pennsylvania, and we would even get referrals from Eastern Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So we transitioned to being a referral service, and we really are able to help a lot more people this way. We're able to give people a whole list of qualified therapists locally that can do in person if they're from Erie, but across the state that can help with their issues, and also if they need a higher level of care, because there is nothing in the area as far as anything like that. So that's where we have gone clinically. As far as our prevention end of things, of course, we were not doing a whole lot of that during COVID, but we've been hard at work in schools and with groups over the last 3 years. We've done a lot of prevention work with local school districts in Erie County. Again, we are looking at really broadening our reach with all this because we're never going to be everywhere, and there are always going to be schools that you can't get into. They have a lot of scheduling problems, and every school is different in what their needs are. And there is a lot of need with other groups besides students and families. And these groups are not being addressed at all really right now. So we were really looking at broadening our reach to include really everybody. But for example, veterans and active military, the incidence of eating disorders is almost twice the rate of the general public.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah. Well, military is a fitness-based culture.
That's
it has
so
to
true.
be. And then there are additional issues that a lot of military has of PTSD. Military sexual assault is a really big issue and is a lot more prevalent than you would hope. But there are a lot of issues that are specific really to the military culture. And also you look at seniors. Seniors are at risk for eating disorders also, and caregivers don't really look at that. They're looking at, well, it's depression, it's anxiety, it's failure to thrive, and it can be all these things because all these co-present with eating disorders. But there are a lot of eating disorders that do present later in life too.
Yeah.
So
If we could go back to the beginning, starting an organization right before COVID, I'm sure that had to have been stressful for all of you in the organization. It's something new and probably had taken a toll on your guys' mental health as well, if you don't mind talking about that a little bit.
it was pretty stressful. It actually, during COVID, actually, I had more stress in my personal life during COVID. I had an ill family member staying with us, not a COVID illness, but because we were able to really start to flesh out the whole clinical end of things. Brandy and I, at least, were busy, but it really, I think, was. We went through the same thing as everybody else in that how long is this going to last? What's going on? How are we going to do this? So that was stressful. And, change is hard.
Yeah.
Change is hard on everybody. And once we were able to get the clinical end of things going and hire a couple therapists, we obviously, for a while, were doing all, virtual appointments, but we were able to feel like we at least were accomplishing something at that point. And then as we started to come out of COVID, it was pretty stressful on the prevention side of things because everybody, it took, and it's still taking a long time for people to acclimate to what's going on. And in schools, the first year everybody was back, it's like, we're in session, we're out, we're staying at home, we're this, we're that. And even the second year, everybody was still trying to find, where they are with all this. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey along with everybody else. But it's been, I guess, at times it's been frustrating, but I think knowing that we're not the only ones that we're going through it, and knowing that without us, there's nothing out there again, I think that really kind of kept us going. And Brandy, our clinical director, she has over 17 years experience working with all levels of care with eating disorders, from inpatient on down to outpatient. And she's a phenomenal person to work with. And I've learned so much from her and from our clients. I'm not a clinician, so I have really learned a lot in all this time. So it's been kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. I am curious, during COVID, did you guys see, or even after COVID, did you guys see an increase in eating disorders? Because I'm sure for individuals, maybe it was tough being at home, things like that, that it took a toll on them.
There has been a large increase since COVID. And we certainly are still seeing effects from that, and we will for a long time. A lot of times eating disorders are a way to cope with trauma. And obviously, everybody was going through a lot. So there has been a big uptake in eating disorders, and an uptake in all demographics, really, all age levels. One of the myths about eating disorders is it affects young females, which it does, but it also affects young males. It affects people in middle age. It affects, older people. It does not. We call it a equal opportunity group of diseases because it really, really does not discriminate. 14 to 24 is probably the largest incidence of first-time eating disorder in a person, but that doesn't mean that it can't, rear its head later on in life for the first time also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of talking about that leads into the next question. What are some common misconceptions about eating disorders that you wish more people understood?
Well, what I just said, that it really affects a lot more ages and types of people than we think. People just don't look at somebody who is not a student or not a school-age person and think that they are at risk for that. So that's one thing. Another misconception is that you can tell by looking at someone if they have an eating disorder, which is certainly not the case. I think the latest research that I've read states that 6% of people with eating disorders are actually underweight. So, and even with anorexics, atypical anorexia, which can be people of normal weight, some research is showing that is now the majority of anorexic cases are abnormal. So that's another misconception. A large misconception is that it's a lifestyle choice and it has to do with healthy eating. It does have to do with eating, and that's the problem. But it's not a lifestyle choice. It's a very, very serious group of potentially life-threatening diseases. Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental health issue, aside from opioid abuse. And the top two causes of death are cardiac issues and suicide. Research shows that about 25% of anorexics will attempt suicide at some point. They are very, very serious diseases. They we call them biopsychosocial diseases because they have components in biology. There is some research out there saying that they think there's a genetic factor in eating disorders, or at least maybe in some. Not to say that there is a gene for eating disorders, but there's a combination of things that can affect this. And also, there are personality traits that can be a major lead you to be more at risk for developing an eating disorder. And then there's the whole social aspect, which we are all dealing with now, and what the conversation is about now. Social media is the villain these days, and social media can be a big issue with us. Social media can also be a good thing, and there are a lot of other entities out there that really, really are not helpful with development of an eating disorder. But the problem with eating disorders is that although they are a mental health disorder, they do revolve around eating, and you cannot get away from eating. We have to eat to survive, and that is the struggle that a lot of people have with all of this, is that it's not something that you can avoid.
Yeah.
Now, I am not comparing this to substance abuse, but for example, though, if you have issues with alcohol use, if you make a concerted effort, you stay away from bars, you don't have alcohol in your house, you can be fairly successful in avoiding alcohol. If you have an eating disorder, you can't avoid food. And in your mind, food is the enemy, one way or another. Which is in a lot of ways why it's a little harder to treat than other disorders, because you're really fighting against yourself in this, and which is also a lot of the reason why even at the outpatient level, eating disorders usually require a treatment team, a qualified, trained mental health therapist, a nutritionist, or a dietitian who is, again, trained in treating eating disorders, a general practitioner or a PCP, somebody who can monitor the medical end of things, and then possibly a psychiatrist if medication is involved in it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad you brought up social media, because I think I've had this conversation with a few people. I feel like, especially for the younger generations, there's a lot of the fear of missing out, or seeing individuals who, Kardashians are usually ones that are brought up a lot. You look up to them and you're like, wow, I wish I looked like that. When in reality, maybe they don't necessarily look like the photos completely. Unfortunately, that's the case. But
Exactly,
in our eyes,
exactly.
yeah.
And that's one of the programs that we present most often in schools is the Body Project. And this is an evidence-based program. It's used all over the world. And it really, really teaches kids how to argue against all this idea of an appearance ideal and the fact that we should all be living up to something. And that isn't even real.
Yeah.
And we go through that, whether it's the Kardashians or whoever else is like, and they know this. Kids know this stuff, but it's really about having a conversation and bringing it to a conscious level for them. That really can be important. I mean, we're not going to stop social media.
Right.
It's here. It's not like we're going to get rid of it, and we're not really probably going to be very successful in telling kids not to be on social media so much. That's a parent and a family issue a lot of times. But it is reality. It is reality, and it's where society is now, and it's where kids are now. And it's much more easy to bully through social media.
Yeah.
And to say absolutely horrendous things about other people because you're at more of a distance. You can do it anonymously. So there are a lot more pitfalls with being on social media, and we try to make kids aware of this and walk through what they can do about it and how they can question what's going on. But yeah, social media is a big challenge, and this whole idea that we do all buy into this, and this is a multi-generational thing. This is going to be going on for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't blame this all on social media. Long before social media, we were all trying to live up to something.
Oh, absolutely.
This idea that I need something to look better. there's something that I need. There's something that is missing in the way that I look, and I need something. I need to look better in some way, and there are whole industries that are based on this. I mean, a lot of advertising, no matter what they're advertising, a lot of advertising is selling stuff based, and you look at the visuals of all this, and it's like, hey, if you do this, if you buy this, if you buy this service or this product, you too can look like these people and be happy and have really, really great lives and be successful. And that's really what advertising is all about. It's, again, it's not going to go away. But if we can make more people aware and just think about this, it's like, okay, if you want to buy Mountain Dew, buy Mountain Dew. But don't buy a Mountain Dew because you think you're going to be the popular guys, having the great time at the top of a ski slope because they're drinking Mountain Dew. So, it's everywhere. And we have to, one of our major goals is to educate as many people as we can about all this and get everybody at least thinking about this. And that, okay, I have choices. I can either buy into all this, but I don't have to. Another really huge player in this game is the diet industry, and really the wellness industry as a whole. And I'm not saying that all wellness things are doing this, but there are a lot that do play upon this. But just specifically the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, and has been for years. And the diet industry, they rely on repeat customers. I think it's, I don't remember male and female, but overall, I think it's about 60% of people in countries that have, in developed countries that have, internet, social media, all this going on, at least 60% of people, adults, are on diets at any given time. So that is another big thing that we all need to look at. Is, number one, what are we doing to ourselves doing all this? But why? Why do we feel that we, the way I get up this morning and look in the mirror, why do I feel that, oh gosh, I need to improve something? It's like we're never good enough.
It's generational for sure. And I feel like as someone that's on social media probably too much, I feel like I'm seeing our generation start to care less about it, but at the same time more. It's very weird. There's some people that are kind of breaking a generational curse of like you have to look a certain way, and so they're not worried about lip filler, or they're not worried about even something simple like shaving their legs, like whereas that was ingrained in them. But then it's also that same generation who is getting the lip filler because the Kardashians had the lip filler, or they're getting like the Brazilian butt lifts or whatever, or that's their goal to get one. And they're walking a very fine line of, do you want to look like this, or do you want to look like this because you feel like you have to? Whether it's because of social media telling you should look like this, or even like parents telling you should look like this.
Or peers, people in the workplace. Families, people in the workplace. There's a lot of, there have been studies done about, eating disorders and body image in the workplace, and it's a huge issue. And it costs billions of dollars a year in productivity. Especially with the whole body image issues and weight stigma. These are huge issues, and I think that you're right. I think people are really start to question this. But one of the things that worries me a little bit, which I think it maybe is part of what you were getting to, is the playing field keeps moving. Lip fillers are it now, and Brazilian butt lifts and all this. But okay, so we're not going to do that. But what are we doing instead, and things morph. It's like the whole appearance ideal morphs. It wasn't, women, the ideal wasn't always for women to have this hourglass shape, and aspire to that. I mean, back in, the 1960s and 70s, the ideal woman was literally supposed to look like a stick, just thin everywhere. We just happen to all be dealing with this now when this happens to be the ideal.
Yeah.
It'll change again.
And that it always comes back to those trends. I feel like resurface. I don't know. It's really exhausting.
Yeah.
It is exhausting, and from a mental health standpoint, I think it causes a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of feelings of wanting to isolate. And I think that maybe there are probably a lot of people out there who are not buying into specific things, but maybe still are skipping school because of not feeling good about themselves and their bodies.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And the really sad thing about it is this why we even have a body? To decorate every day and look in the mirror and say, how good do we look? I mean, we have a body, and it lets us do all these everything that we do every day. And everybody's just so focused on this one aspect.
Yeah.
They're too focused on how it looks and rather than how it functions.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always going to be a piece of that because we are judged. I mean, first impressions, we are judged. And I think society's always going to have that kind of a bent to it. But it doesn't have to be so harmful.
And that's not even to say that, like, wanting to look your best is necessarily a bad thing either.
Exactly.
Like, you can do it, but, like, do it for yourself. Don't do it because you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Before we get any further, I want to take it a step back. I know the most common one people associate with is the anorexia, but of course there's so many eating disorders out there. Do you mind just briefly explaining each one of those, or at least the most common ones?
Well, anorexia is the most well-known eating disorder, and it is really totally restricting. But there are a lot of subtypes of anorexia and bulimia. There's atypical anorexia, which we talked about earlier. Anorexia can also be like a binge and purge thing, which is separate from bulimia. Bulimia is more focused, as far as the diagnosis is more focused on binging and then some kind of a purge, whether it's vomiting or whether it's laxative, overuse of laxatives, over exercising is also a way to purge. There are forms of eating disorders that people have kind of figured out on their own that are using other things in their lives to try to further their goals with weight loss and that. And one is alcohol use, and dieting, restricting calories so that you can go out and drink at night. And that can lead into all sorts of other issues. Then there's use of improperly using insulin. So that's kind of that's called like diabulimia, and that's using insulin in a way that will keep your weight down. There's ARFID, which has really gotten a lot of press in the last year, and because of that, a lot of people self-diagnose. But ARFID is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, And it is the one eating disorder that really is not at least somewhat based on body image. It usually is a sensory issue or a fear of food. It can be brought on by a lot of other mental health issues. It can be brought on by choking. We've had a couple of different children who have had experience with choking and have ended up experiencing ARFID because they just are scared to eat. They're scared to swallow things. And ARFID is usually treated in a little different way than other eating disorders because of all this. Medical issues can cause it. Having an allergy, having to purposely restrict food in the first place because you have to because of a medical issue. You have allergies or you're diabetic. These things force you to restrict food groups, as it is. And that's just the way that it has to be. And if there are other risk factors in your life, it can really throw you over into eating disorders such as ARFID. Also, neurodivergent people are more at risk for also developing ARFID specifically. It's estimated that about 30% of people on the spectrum have a comorbidity with an eating disorder, and usually it's something like ARFID because it is a sensory issue. And it's all about, texture and taste and all this. So,
Like how they have safe foods.
yes, yeah, and it can be one or and that list of safe foods you get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then that's when that becomes a dangerous thing also. People always ask, what's the difference between ARFID and a picky eater? Parents will ask this a lot. How do I know? Get your child diagnosed by a professional who knows what they're doing. There's nothing. It is not unusual to have children be picky eaters. They go through stages. A lot of young kids do not like vegetables. There is no way you can get them to eat vegetables, or maybe they'll just eat raw vegetables, or maybe they'll just eat them with a lot of cheese on them, or maybe no, there's no way. But there's a difference between that kind of thing and having it be a mental health issue that's brought into it. Binge disorder was just, in the most recent version of the DSM, binge eating was finally added as a diagnosable eating disorder. Binge is exactly what it says it is. There are a lot of subtypes of binge also. But one misconception about binge disorder is that it's not as serious of an eating disorder. People look at anorexia being the most serious. Binge can actually be just as harmful, if not more harmful to health than anorexia because of what, binging, and there's a difference between overeating and binging also. Overeating is one thing. Binging is actually, having a feeling of being out of control as you are eating and eating way too much, and you are, and you're eating past the point of being comfortable and you're still eating. So binge is a lot of times not diagnosed as a problem. Binge is looked at more as a self-control issue because of society's view about weight and the whole weight stigma issue. So there's a lot of stigma about all eating disorders. There's stigma, if you're anorexic, you're bulimia. I mean, these are very isolating disorders. And a lot of behaviors with these are done in private, which also teaches people to isolate. But then you have all sorts of other stigmas for different groups, like young males with eating disorders. There's a higher stigma for a young male with an eating disorder than a female, because it's not masculine. It's not, it's not the manly thing, so that there's a greater stigma with that. There's a greater stigma with people in higher, with higher weights, with larger body size. There are all sorts of different stigmas about that, which have nothing to do with facts at all. It's all these myths that present themselves, that we all buy into unless we really sit back and think about it. A lot of it is we don't even think about it as we're going through our day, how we are judging other people, and we know nothing about them. We are judging them by how they look.
Yeah. We definitely do see that stigma in the mental health field, especially with men. We just got done doing presentations, and that's the conversation we had was, how for the males it's still, hey, you're a man, pull it together, and you can't share your emotions. So we definitely do see that in the mental health side of things too, and it's so hard to try to defeat that stigma.
Well, it is, and it isn't just on eating disorders. It's mental health. It's everything, and and I think younger males there might be some hope for younger males. When I'm in schools, males are just as talkative as females are about these issues, which I think is just great. And at vendor tables, you and I were at a vendor table, a few weeks ago, and I will have high school students come up and say, "Oh yeah, I was there clinically. I saw a therapist, or I've had an eating disorder," and being upfront with it in front of their male peers. So I'm hopeful that there's, with at least younger people. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a larger stigma for males, and it's also a real cultural issue too. Different cultures have a larger problem with admitting to mental health issues, and then having the level of stigma around actually getting help. Yeah,
I think the first step for us is to, just like we're doing today, getting the information out there, talking about it, getting people who have experienced, eating disorders or mental health to talk about it and share that, hey, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength that you asked for help because you knew you were struggling.
Absolutely. And, mental health issues overall, there are just as many myths about mental health issues at all. All mental health issues as there are about eating disorders. There are a lot of people out there that don't think that they're real. This whole suck it up thing. Just get on with your day and don't worry about it.
Or just eat a cheeseburger, or just quit eating as much. All of those things surrounding. It's just the way we speak to people when we have actually no idea what they're going through is insane.
Exactly. Yeah. The cruelty, that is all body image based is just amazing. It just boggles my mind. And that increases the stigma and the feelings of having to isolate, unfortunately. And that's the end of it that's not going away at all.
So when it comes to eating disorders, is there maybe individuals out there who have struggled with mental health challenges and then it led to eating disorders?
Okay. So, as I said, with trauma, is certainly a large piece of this. Eating disorders are a lot of times a response to trauma. And it is a response that a person is turning on themselves. But it doesn't have to be a large trauma. It can be, and that's another issue that makes eating disorders a little harder to treat and takes longer to treat, because a lot of it is trauma-based. But it doesn't have to be huge traumas. It can be a person, especially a person that means something to you, or a person that you look up to, as a role model, or, somebody that you care about, just saying the wrong thing to you. It can be just one comment. We're doing a workshop in August and focusing on coaches and trainers, health and phys ed teachers.
That's
because
very important.
Yeah, and they're not I'm not calling them out because they're not the only ones, but getting coaches and trainers to a point where it's not so much not so specifically weight based, and there are some sports that are weight based, and we're not going to get rid of that either, and that's okay if we're not trying to get athletes to perform in a way that is not appropriate for their body, for their specific body type. Like in wrestling, not trying to make weight in that's not and not at all normal for your body. But it can really just be one person saying one thing that can just really devastate a person. And if you have body image issues as it is, that can really just do tons of damage. And yeah.
The student athlete situation with body image is so much more of an issue than I think people realize.
Yeah.
My fiance, he did wrestling and football. He had to cut for wrestling and gain for football, and they overlapped. So it was like a constant eating as much as possible and then not eating for extended, or it's crazy the things that minors are putting their bodies through, people that aren't even fully developed, that they're putting their bodies through for the sport.
Yeah.
And while you'll never get away from it, I think that teaching them healthy eating is so important, and making sure that the coaches and trainers and the adults in their lives know when to recognize that they had to cut for wrestling and they're still cutting and wrestling season is over and they're still not eating, or they had to gain a bunch of weight for football and they're still gaining weight and football season is over.
Right.
Recognizing that is so important.
Right. I mean, athletics are fabulous, and there's nothing wrong with sports. But as you said, a lot of it is making people aware that there are some people who are going to be a risk for an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And it tends to be people who are overachievers a lot of times, perfectionists, and these are people that gravitate to sports and want to do well, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are people that are going to really suffer from it, and to realize what you have to be looking for, and really look at what you are saying to your athletes as a coach, as a trainer, as a phys ed teacher. What are you saying, and what are they getting out of this?
Another sport that I think people don't really ever think about with body image, even though it seems like it would be staring you in the face, is dance and ballet.
Yeah.
Where you are almost forced to having this perfect physique because you're in a leotard. So everything is on display. So I feel like having the knowledge of that for coaches and teacher, it's just so important. I just can't even begin. But that goes so hand in hand with like the mental health component and education as well. It's just all so important, especially for anyone teaching or coaching or caregiving for children.
Yeah, and you're totally right. I have actually heard parents say that, well, being anorexic is going to be, you're going to end up being anorexic if you're in ballet. And the parent is okay with that happening.
Ugh. I hate that.
So
It's, we all have to realize, and coaches and trainers are under a lot of pressure to succeed. Athletes want to go on to colleges and get scholarships, and then you get to the college level and there's tons of money involved and all this. There's a lot of pressure. But we're also looking at young people, and we're looking at people who need to have their bodies work for a long time past the point that they're going to be playing sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there should be a sense of responsibility in not pushing young people to to do things that are not good for themselves in the long run.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me into the next question. What are some things that individuals can look for in their loved ones, or if they're a coach and their students and things like that, to see the signs of eating disorder?
Or even like in themselves. Like if they're not noticing a behavior, or they don't think that there's anything wrong with it. Just like things that maybe they'll be like, oh, maybe that's not normal.
Yeah, and with yourself, there's also, you have to, with anything else, you have to be ready you have to be out of the denial phases and really realize what's going on and want to get help. But as far as things for people to look at, wearing loose clothes. If you see someone all of a sudden starting to wear really baggy clothes, that can be that a lot of times it is a sign of weight loss that they don't want anybody else to notice. Having problems with skin, with hair, with teeth. Bulimia is very, very hard on the teeth and all of your soft tissues. It can cause a lot of issues with that. People who are changing their habits and maybe not going out to eat with others anymore. People in a school situation, maybe people taking their food and going somewhere and eating privately. A sense of isolation, people who are not, if you have a person who is normally, will go out and do things with friends, who is not, there's something going on.
Right.
It may not be an eating disorder. But, the thing is, it's not just one of these things, but if you're noticing behaviors changing, I think there's a mental health issue going on. If you see behaviors, plural, changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone's just wearing baggy clothes all of a sudden, it's like, well, maybe they just like wearing baggy clothes all of a sudden, who knows? But if you see things happening, you see people picking at food, you see someone going to the bathroom right after eating all the time. Can be a big sign of purging. It may not be. It may have a gastro issue or something.
Right.
So, but it's looking at a person overall and kind of picking it apart and saying, okay, these things are changing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with approaching a person that, whether it's a friend or a family member that you think may be having issues, the best way to approach anything like this is to make it all about you. I'm concerned. I'm seeing this. not you're doing this.
Yes.
Yep.
That's going to make a person defensive whether they have an issue or not. But making it all about, like, I'm concerned. What can I do to help? How are you doing?
Those I statements
Yes.
is what we refer to them as. We actually, the presentations we recently did, same conversation.
Yeah.
Same thing of I statements instead of you, because they might perceive it as an attack.
Right.
Even if you don't mean it that way.
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there, did you have
Go ahead.
something? Is there a message that you would like to give to individuals out there who might be struggling or might have a loved one struggling? What's a piece of advice you would have for them?
I think to try to be understanding and not be judgmental. To try to be helpful and listen to if you get a person with an eating disorder or body image issue or weight stigma, any of these things, if you can start a conversation, really listen to what they're telling you, and don't discount it based on your preconceptions of this person or what they're saying. Try to really listen to what they're saying.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
I want to talk a little bit about White Pine specifically. What kind of treatments and support do you offer across the board for whoever needs it?
Well, as of now, as I've said earlier, we have transitioned out of doing direct clinical care into becoming a resource center. And we have a list of clinicians on our website, both local and throughout the state, who are trained in treating eating disorders, including a couple of major eating disorder centers, the Emily program, who is based in Ohio. They have locations in several states, but they do have some outpatient therapists in Pennsylvania who are licensed in Pennsylvania who are seeing people. And obviously, seeing people up here, it's going to be a virtual thing. Also, the Eating Recovery Center offers a lot of programs, including online programs. So it's still slim pickings, but there are people out there that know how to help and have some training, so that they're not doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with nutritionists and dietitians. So we are trying to become more of a resource center, and we are being able to help a lot more people that way, because we're still getting. I get 5 or 6 calls a week, and there's no way we would ever be able to add 5 or 6 clients a week. There's no way anybody can do that.
Yeah.
So in this way, we're able to funnel people through, to other people and get diagnosed, get the proper care they need, get the proper level of care that you need. Maybe you need more than outpatient therapy. Maybe you need a residential program starting off. You need a clinician who knows what they're doing and able to, be able to properly diagnose and give you good recommendations about what you need or what your child needs. We also on our website have a list of questions to ask prospective clinicians.
I love that.
That's important.
It's very important.
Because there's where do you even start? So that's very helpful.
Right. And it's, again, you can, a clinician can do a lot more harm than good if they don't know what they're talking about, because eating disorders are a little different animal to treat. I mean, they rewire your brain. They're really, because of the nutrition aspect of this, they really do make, changes in your brain chemistry and in different parts of your brain. And clinicians need to know this, whether it's mental health clinicians, whether it's nutritionists and dietitians. So that we do have a list online of things to ask, so that it may not be the person for you, it may not be a good fit, personality-wise, but that someone has had some training or has, had some knowledge, has some experience with treating these things.
I love that. Now, for those who aren't familiar, do you mind giving us some information on how people can reach out to White Pine specifically?
Sure. White Pine Center's website is whitepinecenter.org. Our main email is info@whitepinecenter.org. And you can always get a hold of us through the website. You can contact us through there. We do have a local and a 800 phone line also that does go to an answering system. That all those calls come to me. So there are several ways that you can get in touch with us. We are looking at, and when we were all talking about how isolating all of this is, and how much stigma there is related to all of this. We are currently putting all our programs online, and we're looking at putting our prevention programs online so that more schools will have access to them, but also putting a lot of videos online and doing a lot of groups, and offering people a forum to be able to tell their story, whether it's a video that someone is comfortable telling, whether it's just an audio, whether you want to give us something written and we have someone else read it. We're trying to offer resources so that we can reach people where they are. And people are online, people are on social media, and we're not going to change that. But we can reach a lot more people and a lot more different kinds of groups of people by trying to reach people in these ways, other than all the time going to a brick and mortar place and try to have a meeting. So
Definitely.
So we really are really expanding that this year, and we are starting to develop surveys. To ask different populations, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for us to say, we think, everybody wants this. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But also, how do you want it? Maybe you want some kind of a group, interaction, but do you want a live in-person thing? Do you want a chat? What kinds of things are you looking at? So we're trying to get real specific. Taking into account that different populations are probably going to have,
Of course.
different things that they want.
Yeah.
So, but trying to take that into account, and then trying to provide resources for healthcare professionals too, so that more people can have experiences and have trainings. There really are no national standards for treatment of eating disorders in this country. There are people that are working on that, but it's such a large country, and we have so many issues. It's one of many things we need to do.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is there anything maybe that we didn't cover today that you would want to touch on, or even Abby, if you have any questions before we sign off for today?
My other question was going to be, how can anyone watching or listening support White Pine's work or get involved in the fight against eating disorders?
We have a digital advisory group that we are bringing various community members in as guests of the advisory group when we're looking at specific populations, when we're looking at, say, the veteran population or the senior population. So, getting involved with us, as far as being a volunteer, helping us out personally is always appreciated. We also have advocacy initiatives, trying to move the conversations forward in a larger way, and also looking at legislation. There is a bill in front of the, I think it's the Education Committee of the State Senate right now, on eating disorder prevention in schools.
Oh, I love that.
That's really important.
It's been sitting there for a while, but we're working on that. So there are things happening, but we need people, groups of people, numbers of people to be involved in all this. So if you are interested, you can get a hold of, me, through our website. You can call us, you can email us, whatever works for you. We're pretty easy to get in touch with.
I love that. That's exciting things, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that because that is very essential, especially for the younger population.
Yeah. And to have, especially young people, feel that they have a voice. We did a small focus group of high school students and gave them just a kind of a questionnaire. It really wasn't a formal survey. But we found out two really interesting things from them because we made some of the questions open-ended. Two of the things that they said a lot were that they didn't feel that adults realized that how serious these issues are, eating disorders, but especially body image, and that there really are no supports in schools. And I am not complaining about schools. Schools have a lot going on. How can we all help schools to be able to offer supports without putting it more on the school?
Yeah.
That's the problem with that.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but this is what young adults and children are saying. These are issues that they are facing every day.
Yeah.
Whether it's depression, whether they have a horrible view of themselves. I mean, how sad of that is that you don't feel good enough just being yourself. To kids facing bullying all the time, whether it's in person, whether it's through social media. There are a lot of people that, at risk of developing even worse issues, making it more of an epidemic than it is. Eating disorders are at epidemic rates. And body image, is a major health concern. Poor body image is a major risk factor for eating disorders, but poor body image is also a major risk factor for substance abuse, for suicidality and self-harm. For unsafe sexual behavior. I mean, any risky behaviors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it makes sense. If you don't appreciate your body, you're less likely to take care of it.
That is true. Yeah,
that's
a
very
good way.
true.
I mean, it really boils down to that. You're not worried about, and then you have all the depression, the anxiety, and all that. You're more likely to, fall into substance abuse and, engage in self-harm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
Yes.
It is very important. I think most people, if you say something about body image at this point, most people say, oh, yeah, that's an issue. Social media, but not really looking at, it really is a very serious issue that has a lot of ramifications that people don't understand. So, part of our mission is to support, educate, prevent, advocate for people with eating disorders, body image issues, weight stigma.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important job you guys are doing, so we're really fortunate and happy that you were willing to join us and talk about, eating disorders associated with mental health because it can take a toll on individuals. So we truly do appreciate you being here with us today and sharing everything. Again, for our listeners and watchers, depending on what platform you're on, if you don't mind sharing that, where they can go again. It was
Sure. Our email is info@White Pine Center. Our website is whitepinecenter.org. It's one pine, not White Pines Center. You won't get anywhere that way. Our local phone number is 814-461-5617.
awesome.
And all of that goes directly to me, so you will get a hold of me one way or another sooner or later.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's such important information. Obviously, if you're struggling with eating disorder or body image, contact White Pine. They can help you. And we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Stigma Stompers Podcast. We truly appreciate all your support.
If you want to see more about what we do in our community, make sure you check out our website. It's namierie.org. Make sure you also click on our t-shirt store tab so you can buy a t-shirt. We get a portion of all the proceeds. And make sure you sign up for our newsletter. It has all of our programming and event updates.
Another way you can get involved is if you feel comfortable sharing your personal story. You can email us at info@namierie.org, or you can give us a call at 814-456-1773.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye!